pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to our July 11th Tiverton School Committee meeting. Open forum. So, Dr. Dias Mitchell, just please identify yourself and remember that you have 3 to 5 minutes.
Thank you. Lori Dias Mitchell. I am president of the Tiverton Administrators Association. As president of the TAA, I thank you for the opportunity to speak in open forum. Over the past 10 months, the TAA has formally and respectfully requested on 3 separate occasions to discuss in executive session a breach of our contract as well as related issues. Most notably, the promotional position of assistant superintendent, which was created improperly per the agreement between the Tiverton School Committee and Tiverton Administrators Association governing the period from July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2018. The added position of assistant superintendent includes...
Excuse me, Dr. Dias Mitchell.
It's not about a person, it is about a position.
I understand that, but since the TAA has engaged an attorney and we have taken legal advice, it's a matter of litigation, and matters of litigation are specifically excluded from open forum. So I can't allow you to continue on in the... I have the policy if you'd like to review it, but basically it's a matter of litigation as I interpret it, and so I cannot allow you to discuss the matter of the assistant superintendent.
Okay, that was
But
not
you're welcome to
communicated.
continue on and
Okay.
discuss whatever else you'd like to.
So I cannot discuss this issue,
You cannot discuss the issue of the TAA's
the breach of contract.
position. Yes, the breach of contract. The TAA's position that there was a breach of contract. You cannot discuss that.
We have not been allowed an executive session, so this is our only forum.
It is a matter of litigation because the attorneys have been involved, so you may not discuss that.
Okay, I will abide by your wishes respectfully.
Thank you. Okay. Consent agenda?
I'll make a motion that we remove
Table.
table, I'm sorry, 5B.
Yep, B5, yes.
Please.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay,
Motion that we approve the remaining consent agenda.
do I have a second? All those in favor? Okay, Mr. Rurick?
Yes, resignation of teacher assistant at Ranger School, Lisa Monkovitz. Resignation of THS Student Council advisors, Lisa Borges and Michelle Bennett. Resignation of TMS yearbook advisor, Jay Zaro. Appointments, long-term social studies substitute, THS, Lauren Teeter. Contact teacher, Ranger School, Doreen Frazier. Honor Society advisors, Tiverton High School, Nikki Arujo and Amanda Verostro. RTI coordinators at Ranger School, Sue Petraka and Ginny Curtis. And ES co-chairpersons at the high school, Nikki Arujo and John DeVolve. Yes.
Okay. Correspondence?
None.
Okay. Old business?
None.
New business, 8A, spotlight on success, recognition of the girls' fast pitch softball team.
Yeah, Mr. Ashley, would you be so kind to make the presentation? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's a great honor to stand before you this evening and give a much-deserved public recognition and accomplishment for our 2017 Girls Division Softball Championship. So I actually want to give a little round of applause for them right now. And just, they're an extremely difficult division. It was a near-perfect record, and then it goes into, and I don't know the details, Mr. Mello, the essentially an open season where they're opening up to all the teams in the state, and did extremely well, but had a tough tough match against Situate, if I take it. But the girls performed amazingly well, and we do want to just give special recognition to you, Mr. Mello, and then to each of the team members as well, again, for a wonderful accomplishment on a great season. So I'll start with you, Mr. Mello. If you could come up, I have something for you, and then we just want to at least recognize all the players on the team, and then I know not everyone was able to make it this evening. So congratulations again, Mr. Mello. Thank you. Thank you. And then, girls, if you are here, just come right up, and then I'll pass it off to you. So Rachel Andrews, give congratulations. Oh, yes. Yes. Congratulations. Sarah Cabral. Levin Carr. Caitlin Farias. Couldn't make it. Lauren Gamache. Can make it. Okay. Riley Martin. Haley Michaels. Jordan Murphy. Couldn't make it. Alexandra Rusin. Also couldn't make it. Okay. In Italy. Natasha St. Ange. I don't think is here. Suzanne Buckley. Grace Kamara. Samantha Goslin. Jenna Helger. Caitlin Venancio. Am I saying that right? Venancio. Apologies. Marissa Kayer. Am I saying Kayer? Yes. Okay. Hannah DeMello. Marie Feld. Emma Franklin. Giovanna Matera. Lindsay Monist. Jasmine Paiva. Abby Poland. Ella Schneider. And Jamie Valancourt. So again, we just want to give a big round of applause to obviously all the girls here this evening and to the entire team. It really was a tremendous season, and we're really glad you could make it out this evening. Congratulations again.
Mrs. Black?
Yes, Mr. Mello, Coach Mello, and the girls. So this is a special story for me because my sons Gavin and Liam started their Little League career with Coach Mello. His father coached. And in the first season, they were like the Bad News Bears. It was horrible. And Coach Mello said to them, if you learn how to hit and catch and throw, you're going to be really good. So that they did. And then when they were 14 and 15, I said, Coach, pick as close as you can to the Bad News Bears, and we're going to take it all. And we did. So then when Josh started here, and it was transitional, it was building teams, and he was having some tough games, and I said to him, Josh, remember the Bad News Bears? And look what happened. So I went to the games, I bought my shirt, and I'm going to present it to Coach Mello because he was so busy coaching him with you girls, he couldn't buy one. So I'm going to present it to Coach Mello. And I said to you girls, when you're all upset when you lost, and I went to 2 games in 6 years, and you lost both of them, so I'm very upset. So anyway, the boys came with girls. So I said to them, if you get your name on the back of one of these shirts, you've worked really hard and been dedicated, and please believe that. I know when my kids did, they still have them. So congratulations. That's right.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Good job. You may want to stay at the
You may want
podium.
to stay at the podium.
All right. So item 8B, High School Initiatives 2017-2018.
Yes. Wanted to just take a few minutes this evening to talk a little bit about, I think, some of these topics we've talked about, but really highlight, I called them the focus areas for next year, springing out of really the work we've done since the fall of this past year through the spring, really beginning with, as I've presented to this committee in the recent past, our core values, beliefs, and learning expectations, stemming from originally the work of the faculty and staff, through really a mandate through NEAS, but also just always kind of taking a look at continual school improvement. We have gone back per your recommendation and collecting additional parent feedback. We're looking at that right now. We've gotten some great responses and some wonderful feedback, and we're going to be building that in and then planning to present before you again, hopefully in the early fall. We also recognize that in order for our students to achieve, we need to support our teachers. And so, again, continuing with the work that we've done this past year on during our faculty meetings, but we're excited to have additional professional development time for next year on differentiated instruction and technology use, but also just providing just simply more time. Teachers always talk about how they have a lack of time. We're really excited to have just more time for teachers to collaborate and work together. Also, as we've talked about, attendance. And student attendance and looking at tardies and the attendance committee that began this past spring identified that when we were looking at our seniors, that it wasn't just the seniors that struggled with attendance, it was all students in the sense that all grades. And there's a small cohort, but still a cohort of students that struggle to get to school and or struggle to get to school on time. And so this committee started the conversation late spring and will continue it into the fall to basically look at how can we, now that we know that these students are there and we've known them, but really intervene. What supports do they need? And the initial work has identified that the social emotional supports, and this is not just a high school issue. I think my colleagues at the middle and elementary schools would probably agree that it's these students that struggle to get to school often either have family or just their own social emotional issues. And so we're going to be continuing that conversation as well. And then lastly, looking at the period rotation schedule at the high school. Always looking to expand our programs, but also recognizing that back in the winter when we talked about this conflict where we try to meet all the demands of ideally 100% success rate, we're not quite there. And so it's prompted some questions of, well then, if we're not meeting that demand, then maybe we need to take a look at our period rotation schedule. And is there potentially something out there that fits better for Tiverton High School? And so we are going to be putting together a schedule or period rotation committee that's going to look at other area schools, local and somewhat distant, to just look at this question. But one of the key criteria is that it has to fit for Tiverton High School. Is that whatever we look at, and it might be a mold of multiple schools, or we create up something new, or we decide that what we have isn't too bad and we need to make some small tweaks, but that it has to work for Tiverton High School and the classes and the programs that we have here. So again, these are the major focus areas. And as always, we realize that there's a lot to be done, but that initiative fatigue is something we need to think about as well. And so we don't want to scatter ourselves too much and try to stay focused on these topics here.
Any questions? Mrs. Black?
Thank you, Mr. Ashley, for that. Is the virtual learning that we have in the Advanced Course Network, one reason we tried to get those and fight for them is so that students would have opportunities on Saturdays in the Advanced Course Network. I don't want people to think it's for AP. It's for all different, it's wonderful. It's for even remedial. And I think if we can plug into that, it will give kids a chance to stay in their band and do
Oh,
all their
yes.
different things. And that's always been an issue ever since we've been here.
Yeah.
So I think those things that we're trying to implement, is that helping?
It is. I'm glad you brought that up. I was just registering a student last week in the Advanced Course Network.
Good.
It hasn't been as many students, again, as we would have liked, and there might be a number of reasons, but absolutely, that's
It's a
one of the
wonderful
areas.
opportunity, though, that the state is giving us. That's
Yes.
fabulous. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Ashley, how about the virtual learning? Has anyone picked up on that? Anyone taking advantage of it?
Yes, actually, again, not a significant number in terms of, we're not talking 20 or 30% of the schools,
no.
but a small group of students, actually a few more students than the Advanced Course Network, has taken on Virtual High School is the name of it. And like anything, pros and cons. The students really like the flexibility. There's different courses that they could take online that they couldn't take here. But again, there's a level of independence. They don't quite have that face-to-face. That's a little bit bound. So it's a learning curve for us as a school as well, and going to certainly be part of the conversation with that committee.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mrs. Palish, Mrs. Farmer?
Just one question. How did we end up landing with the 2017-18 school year schedules? Percent?
Oh, in terms of requests
Yes.
met, we're in the mid to upper 90 percentile for requests met right now.
Okay.
So around the 95 to 97%.
And how does that compare to other years, do you know?
Yeah, it's briefly, similar. We roughly run from the last couple years that I've looked, and I'd want to double check my memory on this. We generally run in the low 90s to mid 90 percentile at about this time, knowing that there's always a select few students, specific courses that we look to schedule come late August.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Deb? Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So item 8C, update on our strategic plan.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to provide an update. We did this last November, I believe, so this is a little bit earlier for our annual update, but gives us time to continue the work. As you know, our strategic plan has 5 focus areas, and they are communications, curriculum, facilities, professional development, and technology, all of which are in progress or completed. And just briefly to walk you through each of the areas, and then I can address any questions. Under communications, we have 4 areas, all of which are completed, and I want to just point out that item 3 there was to plan the implementation and monitoring of our communications plan. So that piece is ongoing, and our communications committee we'll be meeting soon, actually, again, to go over that and continue that good work. But it is in place per the strategic plan. And in terms of curriculum, there are 4 areas, 2 of which are completed. Those are working on our response to intervention, which we had a wonderful group of teachers work on revising and updating our procedures for that. That is on our district website, and again, came from teachers from each of the 5 schools. And that work obviously always continues. Response to intervention is a multi-tiered system of support for individual students and groups of students. So we've hit the mark on the strategic plan, but the good work continues as it should. The other area that's completed is the implementation of full-day kindergarten, with additional programming and supports for our teachers and their students. And then the next area is facilities. So as you can see, thanks to the hard work of many people across the town, we're in good shape and moving forward in this area. We have 2 areas completed, and the exciting part of actually getting to work on the facilities and implement and move forward with all the things on the list is ongoing. Professional development is an area in which we had 4 goals, and 2 of those are in good shape to continue. We've really focused, per the committee's direction, on math and science across the grade levels, and we do have a curriculum cycle in place that will involve job-embedded professional development where teams of teachers are revising and updating their own curriculum. And finally, the technology area. That focus area has 3 action items, all of which are ongoing at this time. And again, we have a technology committee that meets to monitor the tech plan. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Mrs. Black? Well, you know, you're the
I
youngest.
just heard
so-
technology. How often is the technology committee meeting? I know there was a meeting maybe June or May.
We had there were 2 meetings this past year, one in November, I believe, and then one in May.
Yes, you're okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, so this is one of my favorite things. Mr. Eric knows that, with multiple pathways. So I went to find my 2003 strategic plan. And what's interesting is we've really been doing all the same things. School facilities was on here, then we did the elementary and all the different things. But what was interesting to me is what the principal was just up here talking about all the things we're doing, and here's what it says. The goals: improving accountability for teaching and learning, ensuring highly qualified teachers for all students, providing instructional programming to meet the diverse needs of all students, establishing support services based on the needs of students at risk, increasing family and community involvement in all our schools, and providing educational facilities, which you just talked about. So that was 2003, and there were 45 members on this committee, and it was community members and people from the school. And then we went on to 2009, and then to 12, and then Mrs. Polish was on this one, along with Linda Larson as Tiverton Middle School parents. So it's good because all the things we talked about then we're still talking about and trying to do, and it's really exciting to see. This year we just kind of had the ride person come in, remember? And she's kind of facilitated it, and I said to her at one point, and I'm kind of tired of hearing about data. I said, we have a lot of other things going on, and she was, I remember Amy was like, but anyway, thank you for putting that together, and we're still going forward with all this, and we've done a good job. Thank you.
Sorry. Curriculum, the first bullet.
Yes.
So we have the summer of 2016, it says science curriculum writing at TMS. And then 5 through 12 science in summer of 17, and then K through 12 science in 2018. So I'm just trying to put like the piece, like how's that working?
Thank you. So this August, we have teachers in terms of science from grades 5 through 12 writing curriculum. Right now at the elementary level, we're working off the RIDE model curriculum
Okay.
for science, implementing new science units and materials, thanks to the committee. And then after the teachers have taught them all, they'll refine the RIDE model curriculum at the K to 4 level so
Gotcha.
that they really understand the content that they're teaching before they have an expectation to write
Gotcha.
those units.
Okay. I just was trying to get the sequence worked out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Farmer, anything?
I guess nothing specific, however, just one question. You mentioned this is 2015 to 2020. That's 6 years. Was that really the intention of this plan? Because I know I served on the committee. I don't remember it being a 6-year plan.
5-year plan, sort of, you know.
I believe we
there's no
submitted it to RIDE
collectivization,
in
but it's a
June
5-year plan.
of 15, so it really is 5 school years.
5 years, school year.
June of 15 to June of 20. Isn't that, in hindsight, isn't that a little long?
For a couple, and Mrs. Black referenced a couple of them, 1 or 2 strategic plans were 3-year plans, but for this, and I don't recall why we as a group chose 5 years. Again, it's really up to the group that and the school committee who ultimately approves it. You know, to, sometimes when you go 5 years, it's to, you know, accomplish certain things, especially with like facilities. We knew when we wrote this, you know, we knew we had to do facilities work. The curriculum writing we knew was going to take time with science especially.
Yeah.
So you can go 5 years, 3 years, you know, anywhere, but it's usually either 3 or 5. And again, it's really up to the school committee and or the body that helps create it, that forms it.
And I know I want to say the facilities discussion, we certainly didn't expect the bond to pass the first time around.
That's
So we
correct.
saw that as a longer.
None of us foresaw that we were going to get it on the first pass.
So we saw that as a longer, you know, certainly like beyond 3 years.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I mean, would it make sense to potentially not necessarily revisit the plan, but potentially revisit the action items and add new ones in, you know, with the goal of reaching the plan?
Well, I think
It just seems like an awful long time not to have something that's alive and moving along. We've just, okay, we set the goal, we did the action, now we got 5 years.
So lots.
But the curriculum piece drives the majority. And in the past, we made communications a priority from this strategic plan group because that's what everyone felt
Right.
we needed to improve on.
Right.
Historically, and Sally has them there in front of her, we always put teaching and learning first as the first and primary goal because that's what we do. That's our focus, obviously. And that's always ongoing. And if you look, it doesn't seem like a lot, but like when you see science teachers, grades 5 through 12, writing
Yeah,
curriculum.
that's a lot.
That's a lot of work. And then we have to implement it. And so a lot, it is ongoing. It's not stagnant per se. And because Chris mentioned initiative fatigue, we have limited resources and limited personnel within the organization to push things through, you know, to make sure this gets done. And then to add, not that we don't, because we bring things to the committee that we have to address and, you know, as an as-needed basis, or like, for example, Chris was talking about attendance. One of the things we'll be coming to you with, how do we support our kids who are struggling with attendance? That's not anywhere in here, but it's an initiative that the committee will be addressing shortly. So those things they arise naturally.
Yeah.
Plus, when you do this kind of document, it's holistic and it's also inclusive of the various stakeholders. You know, so we will be we de facto at, I guess is the best way to put it, throughout the
we
course
do.
of that 5-year window. And as some things come up that take a higher priority, we just address them as we see fit. Or the
I
committee
mean, I
sees
guess,
fit,
yeah, I
should say.
think that was, we don't want to bite off more than we can chew because as you've seen, there are
I'm
all
not,
kinds
that's
of
not what I'm
things.
suggesting, but just as an example, I noticed on communications, we had 4 action items, they're all in green, which is presumably accomplished.
Right.
What else can we do to improve communications toward the goal
Yes.
of being where we really want to be
Well,
with
one of the
communications?
things-
I don't think
well,
any of us
I'd be
think
happy
we're
Because
there.
you're on that you're on the committee, you know, one of the things that we still have to work on and we haven't gotten there yet is branding. You know, so that's ongoing. That's something that we still, as a subcommittee, because it's in our communications plan, because it says here, develop the plan, which we did do. But within that plan is, you know, branding the district. So that's something that's still ongoing that we need to address. Did we do all these things? Absolutely. But there's things within each one that, you know, we're still working on.
And I would suggest under communications, to build on what Mr. Varick is saying, that third item of developing a plan and monitoring it now is kind of codified as a habit, and there's plenty of work, as you know, that committee continues to do. So,
For example, we're going to be looking at the survey results
not done.
that we sent out right at the end of the school year as a subcommittee, and then see what they have to say, and then we'll be making recommendations to the school committee. So it's always an ongoing process depending on which initiative that you look at within the plan itself.
Thank you.
Dr. Larkin. I'd just like to thank Julie for all your hard work. You're doing an amazing job. We see you everywhere. I love it. Thank you.
So, and I guess just to answer some of your concerns, the strategic plan never precludes us from establishing other goals. short or long term. And, we continue to revisit it every 6 to 12 months, particularly the communications piece. And it's interesting that Mrs. Black was talking about sort of some of the same goals were set in 2003 and 2009. I don't take that as meaning that they are elusive and we've never accomplished them. I think it's
No,
more
no.
that
They're
they
ongoing.
remain,
They're
they will
ongoing.
always remain goals
That's who
and
we are.
something of a moving target as well, I guess. So in some regards they are elusive because you've got different kids every year. So anyway, any other? Yeah. It is possible that we will kind of find
Sorry,
ourselves
and
without
that's
things
why
to do
we-
in 2019, and maybe we can find some.
And historically, we've only done this once a year, but this is, I'm going to try it again over do it twice a year. So come
Yeah.
maybe mid-January, February, you'll get another update as to where we are. So again, the committees, in other words, well,
Yeah.
what are we doing here in the district? Well, this is what we use as our blueprint. And it also allows us to demonstrate to all the folks in the community what we are doing.
Yeah, and communications is meeting every 6 months now to sort
Right.
of monitor, and
No.
of course, the facilities is an ongoing, at least monthly process, so. Anyway, any other thoughts, discussion? Can we move on? So, item 8D, high school stage curtain replacement proposal. I love to talk about the curtains.
Thank you. As a result of the fire inspection that we have every year at each of our schools, we were cited for having our curtains in the auditorium not current as far as the flame retardancy treatment. So what we did is we went out. This happened at 3 of the schools: high school, middle school, and Ranger. Ranger middle school weren't a problem. We were able to have a vendor come in and treat the curtains. When they came in for the high school, they noted that due to the age of the curtains, there were some rips in it, and they weren't going to be able to treat it. So what we did at our last meeting, I announced that we had gone out to bid to replace those curtains. We didn't have any successful bidders. So what we did was we went back to a company that had provided us an original quote for this work, and we asked them to submit their best and final bid. And what I'm presenting the school committee with is their Walker Specialties of Braintree gave us a quote of $14,850 to replace the high school curtains. So I'm asking the committee for permission to procure these curtains, and they'll be ready for the fall if the committee sees so fit to approve this.
Which sounds like a lot, but considering we've had our old ones for 30 years?
I think we got our money's worth
Yeah.
out of them, but I was going to say that this is another example of something totally unforeseen. We didn't know going into the school year that we were going to have an issue with the set of the curtains, so fortunately we have
But we
the-
got our use out of them, and I'm
the
sure we
ability
will
to
again.
fund these out of our fund balance.
I'll make a motion that we approve the proposal of $14,850 for 22-ounce curtains from Walter Specialties.
I second it. Do we get to pick the color?
I believe we will, Mrs. Black.
Oh, thank you.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
What, they're gonna be
Is this a vendor we've worked with before?
Not us, because we haven't purchased stage curtains in quite a while, but they had done some work recently in some Massachusetts schools, which we checked directly, and we got a positive reference.
What it came up, what color would you like us to order?
I think black is always in style, so.
And I would bring Mrs. Christ into that conversation as well,
I'm sorry?
right?
What?
What color? I mean, isn't she
I was
the drama teacher and,
going to go with maroon, but
Oh.
Everybody that uses that auditorium.
or whatever, what color's up there now?
Mr. Mendes was involved with the vendor directly.
okay. Thank you.
So the color's
They're
not
the back
pertinent, all
ones.
right.
They're the back curtains.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
those should be black.
So they got to be
because-
black.
Thank
It's
you.
not the front ones.
Oh,
Thank you, Mike, for
Thank you.
clarifying
That's
that.
good to tell us.
That almost
know-
spun us out.
We needed clearly someone with a sense of style.
Yes.
No, thank you.
Oh, amen. Okay.
All right. Item 8. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Please.
Any other discussion? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Opposed? Okay. Item 8C, home teaching approval request.
I'll make a motion that we approve the homeschool teaching request.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Okay. Item 9, announcements.
I have two. On July 26th, the building committee will be meeting here in the library at 6:30, where we will be interviewing the three firms that would like to be the general contract, that are going to be bidding and applying for the general contracting posting that we put out to do the work for the two schools at the high school and the middle school, the renovations. So we will conduct those interviews with under the guidance of RGB, and then have a recommendation for the committee at their August 8th meeting to hire a general contractor for the project. Okay. Doug, do you have?
Yes, thank you. I just passed out to the committee an item that we had circulated via email prior to the meeting, and it summarizes our one-time expenditures out of our fund balance at the request of Ms. Farnworth at the last meeting. What it shows is we've had a pretty consistent effort to replace technology over the last 7 years that we've looked at, and you can see that we've had funds ranging from $25,000 to nearly $280,000, and there's been even a more significant commitment to facilities, which is going to increase over the next few years as the bond work kicks in. And the facilities, we've put almost $1.4 million over the same time frame. So I didn't have really anything new to add here. Most of these items have been before the committee numerous times, but I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Can we put this on a future agenda since this is under announcement?
Sure.
Sure.
We'll put it on the August 8th.
And had a couple more
And,
items.
do you have anything else?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm not sure if anyone had a chance to see the paper this morning, but state aid has been frozen at the fiscal year 17 level until they enact a fiscal year 18 budget. So RIDE had sent out some communications to the school departments yesterday. I think that the total impact on Tiverton, if they were to revert to that amount for the whole year, is about $300,000. Obviously, we're not expecting that to happen, and the way they backload state aid, I think the first month was only about an $8,000 impact to the town that their aid would be reduced. But I just thought that bared mentioning and to keep an eye on to make sure that the original commitment of aid for 18 needs to be enacted in order for us to proceed with our original assumptions.
Can we put that on the August 8th agenda too, just so we can get into it a little bit
The
more
update,
detail?
sure.
Thank you.
And hopefully it will be resolved by then.
Let's hope.
Are you done, Doug?
I had capital, state aid. I just wanted to give a brief update on where we stood as far as our fiscal year 17 close. As we've mentioned over maybe the last 6 months or so, we're running pretty close to budget, and I don't have anything significantly different to report now. One of our major issues this past year was our out-of-district sped expenses. They were running about $300,000 higher than what we originally budgeted. But what I'm pleased to say is most of the other accounts making up the balance of our $28 million pretty much offset that. So I'm anticipating a slight surplus, perhaps under 100,000, but we're still, not even 2 weeks into the new fiscal year. Invoices are still coming in. We have a pretty good handle on the most significant ones, but you never know what type of late surprises are going to come in. So I was pretty happy that we were tracking so close to where we thought we would be. And I'll have we'll actually have a close and some numbers to discuss more specifically at the August meeting.
If no one else has any announcements.
Sorry, I had one
Jesus.
more. This is also late good news. The committee had authorized us to submit a grant request for a microwave vegetable steamer to ride.
How could we forget that?
And I'm pleased to say there were only funds available in total statewide of about $77,000, and our grant for $4,300 for the steamer was approved. So I will have that for official acceptance on the next agenda as well.
Are you done now?
I believe that concludes my
your presentation.
update. Thank you.
Absolutely, sure.
Oh, we got the steamer.
I can't have too much good news
That's
today.
all that matters. I'd just like to make a personal announcement. I know the school committee's aware of this, but for the public, I will be retiring from my position effective June 30th, 2019. As you know, we've worked out the retirement. I plan on staying on, serving the school committee in my current capacity until such time that someone is hired, and I will then serve as a consultant as needed. So there we have it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Rurick, on behalf of the school committee and the students and people of Tiverton, we thank you for your years of service and look forward to continuing to work with you as we're going through this transition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wish I was getting that back.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Any other announcements? Okay. I need a motion to move into executive session.
I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session under RIGL 42, 46.5, A2 and 9, collective bargaining, council 94, grievance. Also RIGL 42, 46.5, A2, legal matter, ACLU settlement.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.